Oftentimes when you think of a Rolls Royce, the terms classy, elegant, and refined come to mind. But what if you wanted to show off a darker, more bolder side to you? Well, this week I'm in Portland, Oregon, testing out this 2017 Rolls Royce Ghost Black Badge. It's a car designed to show off your individual, more darker personality if you guys actually have the money to afford a vehicle like this. So is it any good in this ultra high-level luxury segment? That's what we're here to find out. Hey guys, before we get started on what is the most expensive press car I've ever reviewed, I wanted to do a quick shout out to this really incredible watch that I've been wearing for the past couple of days. It's by Vincero. When you guys order the watch, it comes in this really nice box like this. So when you open it up, it's really nicely finished on the inside. And the watch itself, the one they sent me is the rose gold chronograph style watch. It's a 42mm watch face. The face itself is coated in a crystal sapphire glass, which means it is scratch resistant. And honestly, it offers a timeless look that will age just as gracefully as that Rolls Royce without the outrageous price tag. Now, I've been wearing this watch for the past couple of days. I've gotten a ton of positive feedback on it. And honestly, it looks and feels a lot more expensive than its price would suggest. Now, if you guys are interested in getting this watch just in time for the holidays, make sure you go into the description, click the link below, Vincero Collective /Redline for a special discount. Let me know what you guys think in the comments on the style. I think this is one watch that I'll be keeping for a long time. So in the luxury space, Rolls Royce is not something you see very often. In fact, in the entire world, the company only builds about 4,000 annually, and they only sell about 100 cars in the US every year. The Spirit of Ecstasy badge is definitely the trademark of the company, and this emblem pops in and out at the push of a button, just in case you want to fly stealth in your Rolls Royce, which honestly, if you look at the actual design of this car, the Ghost was first introduced back in 2009. Rolls gave it a pretty heavy update in 2014, where this body style is now known as the Series 2. Honestly, it has the traditional styling of a Rolls Royce. It's a very blocky, very square, rectangular design that has a lot of presence to it. Now, you can distinguish the Series 2 from the headlights. These are full LED headlights. They're a little bit slimmer in terms of its design, just to kind of give it a more modern look. It has a very traditional but modern design. It's really, really imposing when you first see it in person. Now, this car's platform is actually based on the previous generation 7 Series. If you guys are familiar with Rolls Royce, BMW owns them. It's part of their ultra high luxury division where the company bought them out. Now, compared to the 7 Series, the Rolls is larger. Now, you can actually take it in two different sizes. There's the short wheelbase, like this particular model that I'm showing you, and an extended wheelbase. The wheelbase is about 129 inches long, about 3 inches longer than a 7 Series long wheelbase, and the overall length is about 212 inches long, which is literally about the size of like a Ford F-150 pickup truck. So this is a big vehicle. Now, my tester has these very attractive looking 21-inch wheels. They're on Continental high-performance tires, because this particular one that I'm showing you is the Black Badge, which is designed to be the sportier oriented model, if you can call it sporty. I mean, Rolls is a kind of a car that most of you probably will never drive in your life, and if you own one, you're going to probably have a driver anyways. Now, if you follow me over to the rear of the car, it has the traditional Rolls Royce styling again. It's got that rectangular blocky design that gives you a really big presence. It's a really wide vehicle. You have LED taillights, these really fat wide fender flares that really show off the big wheels and tires. You have blacked out dual exhaust, and really the black on this car is a $10,000 option. And I have to say, Rolls says it's the most luscious, most intense shade of black. So if you guys love black cars, this literally has your name on it. Now, Rolls Royce owners probably will never really do their own shopping, but if you want to know what the trunk is like, first of all, it's power operated. You kind of expected that. The trunk is actually a little bit on the small side, if I'm being honest. It has around 14 cubic feet of space. The carpeting they use in it is seriously plusher than what you're gonna find in most luxury sedans, so you kind of expect that again. The seats, obviously, they don't fold down, and if you look underneath here, there's a little bit of storage where Rolls gives you some tools actually to, I guess, change your tire, maybe, or at least have your chauffeur do it if you ever get a flat. But overall, the trunk, not really the biggest, but if you need to use it, or at least if your chauffeur needs to use it, Rolls does finish it off very nicely. In case you guys are wondering, here is the key for the Rolls Royce Ghost. It is a massive key. Surprised it's not wrapped in leather, or honestly, it feels a little plasticky if I'm being honest. The buttons aren't really well labeled. I had to push a few buttons to kind of figure out. This locks the vehicle, and when you lock it, the Spirit of Ecstasy badge goes away. To unlock it, you push this button, the top button, and that unlocks it and has the badge come back up. Now, when you walk up to the Rolls, first of all, it seriously reminds you you're a celebrity every time. You're seeing here the door handles are in a different position, and there's actually still an old school key place where you can put your key to open the car, but nevertheless there is smart entry, so you can lock the vehicle from there, and if you want to unlock it, you just touch the back of the door handle. It's got a sensor. Now, Rolls Royce seriously is one of their most custom, or you can customize the interior basically to your liking. My tester has very nice blue leather, which I was actually surprised about. I wasn't anticipating I'd like this, but it looks great. I think it contrasts the black exterior nicely. You can see they use the finest materials in here: exquisite wood, exquisite leather, exquisite metal trim. Some of the controls and switchgear are made from glass, but really, first, looking at the interior, you kind of get a really nice first impression. It even smells nice. I honestly can't even show you or begin to describe how nice this interior is in the video. You kind of have to see it in person. Now, stepping inside the cabin, you can see here the inside reminds me a lot of some BMW in terms of the infotainment system. The switchgear in here is all very unique to Rolls Royce, for sure. As you can see here, as I mentioned, some of the controls here are made of glass. The steering wheel is also nice and large. It's got a thin wheel because this is not a driver's car, as you guys know. It's a Rolls Royce. Now, when you shut the door, it seriously sounds so heavy. It kind of reminds you that this is, a hand-built car. It's a heavy car. It's a big car, so you kind of are, immediately hit with that when you first get in this vehicle. Now, as I said, it's got the smart access system, so put your foot on the brake and then push this button here to fire up the engine. And the engine is so smooth. This is one of the smoothest engines I've ever driven, and it kind of feels like an electric motor, to be honest, at times. And you can see here the gauges, they're very traditional looking. There is a nice screen below it, but there's no tachometer. Instead, you have a power reserve meter that basically shows, like right now I have 100% of the power available. If you start hitting the gas, it starts to lower that to show you that you're actually using a little bit of the power. So it's an interesting representation. Rolls-Royce owners, I'm sure, don't really care about, how much, engine RPMs their cars, producing or using up. But you can see here really exquisite materials. This nice piano black. There's metal trim here and there. There is, stitching on the dashboard here, on the upper part of the dashboard. You have the blue leather kind of everywhere. It's contrasting really nicely. And you can see here the window switches also don't remind me of a BMW. They're kind of very tactile. They feel expensive. The windows also are one-touch automatic for all four. You kind of expected that. You can see metal speaker covers here and there. The steering wheel, it's hydraulic assisted, I believe, and it's nice and light. This is the thing about a Rolls, is it's not a driver's car, but it's just an effortless car, and you kind of get that sense as soon as you get in here. Some of the controls in here look interesting. Like, I don't really like how small this is for the headlight controls, but it's made from a really nice material. I really like the glass buttons they use. The infotainment system, let's talk a little bit about that, because this is basically BMW's Idrive, which I actually haven't shown you too much of. It's kind of their older Idrive system, if I'm being honest. It looks cool though. I like the graphics. It's definitely premium looking. The controller here is controlled by this little knob that's very iDrive-like, although Rolls-Royce did their best to kind of make it unique. It's got the Spirit of Ecstasy logo on it, more of the glass controls. You have your shortcut menu buttons here for your navigation, your radio. It's got air suspension right here. You can lower and you can raise the car if you'd like. Some of the door lock controls are down here, and then everything in here surprisingly is not as intimidating as I was expecting it to be. It's pretty well laid out. Your emergency brake is there. You have a 360 camera system on this car with some front views, which is kind of what you expect. It's a very large car. It takes some getting used to driving. Looking down here, you can see this car has 4-zone climate control, but surprisingly it's manual. You do have heated and cooled seats on on basically all the seats, and they're massaging seats everywhere. The massage function is accessed by pushing this button down here, which, I'm being honest, the massage isn't that great. The Volvo XC90 that I had a much better feeling massage, so that's a little bit disappointing. The climate control here, this is how you change the temperature. It's got your fan speed right here, which is soft, medium, high, max. It's interesting because this car doesn't have automatic climate control, it just has manual, but it's 4-zone. But I'm surprised they didn't go with an automatic climate control function. Now, over here you can see the glove compartment. It has this place right here, I think, which is for your cell phone, if I'm being honest. And there's a little bit of old school luxury in here. I mean, I love the felt they use here. Everything in here feels expensive, high quality. There's nice, covers right here for the cup holders if you want to close these up here. It just looks very exquisite. The glove compartment is also damped, lined with felt. It's actually a little bit on the small side, if I'm being honest. Now, my tester has an option on it for the Starlight headliner. It's a $5,000 option. It's a leather headliner as well, so you kind of expect that. That's why there's no sunroof. It looks fantastic, especially at night. It's silly, kind of a silly option to me, if I'm being honest, but this can, over here, let's talk about this. This controls the transmission selector in case you guys were looking for it. It's kind of like a Mercedes, but it's a way different part. To put it into reverse, you push up. To put into drive, you push down. Park is accessed by pushing this button here. And then there's a little gear selector right there. Of course, when you have it in it, it's gear telling you what gear you're in. But I mean, overall, the interior of this car, super exquisite, super nice. It has a little bit of old school luxury in it. So I will say that it's a little bit different there, but I think a lot of you are going to get inside and you can literally customize this to your liking. I'm not sure if it's nicer than the Mercedes Maybach. I think the Mercedes has better tech, but this car has more of an old school premium feel that I think a lot of you are going to appreciate in this class. So the rear seat is really where you want to be in a Rolls Royce. Now, first of all, I want to talk about the suicide doors real quick because they actually are independent of each other. You don't have to open one door, to close the other. And one thing I really want to show, because this is a Rolls Royce trademark, is the umbrella that's in the front door. So, in case it rains or you just don't want to be seen when you get out of your Rolls Royce, the driver can take out the umbrella, and it's on both sides of the door. So I think that's the coolest feature, honestly, about this car. Now, getting in the rear seat, my tester's the short wheelbase model, so just keep in mind there's one that has like 7 inches more legroom in the back here, but this is still a really nice rear seat. When you get back here, I like the fact that the door opens this way. It kind of gives you a little bit more space to get in. The first thing I'm immediately noticing is the lamb's wool floor mat in here. I mean, it's a $1,500 option, but it's seriously the most plush carpet I've ever felt in a production car. And when you get back here, you're just kind of reminded about how successful you are, because the rear seats are more comfortable than the front seats. They're massaged, they're heated and cooled. You have your own little screen back here where I can literally control what I want from the front and the rear. I can, for example, if I wanted to go somewhere else, I can just put the destination and just tell my driver to just go somewhere else. You can control the audio from here. There's these cool little pop-out tables right here. So if I wanted to get some work done, I can put my laptop here and start working on things, because the rich people who buy this car are constantly working so they can afford something like this. You have basically the same Idrive controller in the back here with the Spirit of Ecstasy logo. It's all mimicked. You're controlled here from this little controller here to make the seat recline, to turn on the massage function. It's all really nice. There's even some nice storage over here, and then there's some more pop-out stuff here. If you want to push this button here, that's where your cup holders are. There's also a little ashtray that pops out here because you probably smoke cigars if you're going to be driving a car like this. And if you open up this little center console area here, there's a refrigerator in the back with some champagne holders. So again, it's a party back here. I'm surprised with the amount of space, because the Maybach Mercedes, has the recliner that pops out, and a lot of the other competitors do. So you really need to go for the long wheelbase model. But overall, the back seat is really where you want to spend in a vehicle like this. So just in case you're wondering what's going on underneath this super long hood, the engine that this car comes with is just one. It's a BMW-derived V12. I wouldn't expect anything less in a Rolls Royce. It's a 6.6 liter V12, and in the black badge model, it makes more power, about 40 more horsepower than the standard model. This makes 603 horsepower and 624 pound-feet of torque. A lot of power for sure, but this is a heavy car. It weighs around 5,500 pounds. That's more than a lot of full-size pickup trucks. So again, this is a big car. There's only one transmission choice. It's an 8-speed automatic, rear-wheel drive only. There's no all-wheel drive on this car. And gas mileage, if you have to ask, is rated at 12 in the city, 19 on the highway, 14 combined. Please, please, please put premium in it. So make sure you tell your chauffeur to do that. Let's get out on the road and see how it all drives. All right, so the moment you guys have been waiting for. I have never driven a Rolls Royce in my life, so this is a pretty big moment for me and for you guys. I'm super excited to show how this car drives. Now, first of all, it starts up like every other normal car. When it starts up, as you guys heard, it literally doesn't sound like anything. It's really quiet, really smooth. This is my first time actually driving something with 12 cylinders, at least, I think. Or no, I've driven the Maybach, but I never showed you guys a video of it. But for settling into the Rolls, you immediately feel its massive size. This is a vehicle that is honestly long as you know, full-size pickup trucks, but it's also extremely wide and just really rigid. This car feels heavy, it feels solid, and it kind of just goes down the road and glides down the road. Like, this is not a driver's car by any means. It's just a car that coddles you, that isolates you, because if you can afford a car like this, you're gonna have multiple cars. This is not your only car, and you're gonna probably have your sports car, your SUV, and this is something that your driver is literally just gonna take you, you know, to and from the office, take you out to dinner with you and your wife or your partner, your husband or whatever. But it's also extremely quiet. Now, the roads here in Portland are not great. Instead of like asphalt, I feel like they use this like rocky gravel material that just hardens, and it's so loud. Like, I've driven so many cars that are usually supposed to be quiet, but the Rolls makes everything seem so loud when you drive this car, and you really notice it, just how solid and bank-like or vault-like it feels when you first get on the road. Another thing that surprises me is how effortless it kind of gets up to speed. I mean, this is not a small vehicle. She's a big girl. She weighs like 5,500 pounds, but Rolls says this Ghost can get to 60 in 4.5 seconds, or maybe it's like 4.7. It honestly feels about right. What really is confusing to me is when you dip into the power, just put your foot down, you don't really feel any gear changes. Now, this is an 8-speed automatic built by ZF. It's a smooth gearbox. It's a great gearbox, but it's so smooth. Rolls has kind of tuned out all of the shift shock in it, and the engine is like an electric motor. It's so smooth. You don't really feel it, and you only notice it's actually working when you start to push the car. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's no tach in this vehicle. It just has like a power reserve percentage. And because my foot's a little bit on the gas, it's showing like 90% of the power is available. As soon as I take my foot off the gas, it shows 100%. And every time you floor it, it starts to dip down, showing that you're actually using the available percentage. Rolls Royce, buyers probably don't drive their cars, but they don't want to be bothered with all that nonsense of how many revs the engine is doing. Now, one thing about this car as well is you don't feel the speed. Like, a lot of modern cars have that problem, but Rolls, this Ghost, like, I'm going down the road here at 70 miles an hour and it feels like I'm going 30 miles an hour. It's just effortless. You just glide over the bumps. And now, it's not a floaty car by any means. Like, it's not gonna make me sick, but it's definitely one of the softest cars I've ever driven. But it's also tuned right. Instead of it being bouncing around like an old Lincoln or an old Buick, it kind of just isolates you, it coddles you, and the quietness is just unreal. I've never experienced something that's so eerily quiet. This is definitely probably the quietest cars I've ever driven. And when you drive this car, you kind of get a sense that it's built to an even higher standard than some of the Mercedes, the lower level BMW and Audi products. And that's important because if you're going to spend as much money as a house, or even more than some people's houses, you kind of expect this car to feel special. And the Rolls definitely feels special when you are going down the road. Now, this car does have the full suite of active driver assistance tech. It's not going to be like anything like Mercedes Drive Pilot or Tesla Autopilot. It has full speed range adaptive cruise control. It's got automatic emergency braking. It's got lane keep assist, where the steering wheel will vibrate if you go over the lane, and then it'll kind of shove you back over. I wasn't expecting the Rolls to be, at the forefront of that kind of technology. In fact, the interior itself, in terms of the tech, is a little bit behind. But it's good that the company gives you that. It's a $7,000 option though, just to get those driver assistance package. So driving the Rolls Royce on the highway is really the best place to be. I mean, you could take this on some back roads and it will handle it just fine. But I found that the big size, the really, non-communicative electric steering, it's not really a driver's car, as I said. Now, when you're just out on the open road here, the air suspension soaks up all the bumps. I'm getting a massage here from these massaging seats, which honestly, they keep massaging my butt like back and forth. The rear seats have better massage function where it actually goes up my back. So just keep that in mind. Again, Rolls kind of reminds you, they've saved the better seats for the rear seats. But The seats in general, the leather is very soft and cushy, supportive. The visibility in here is also surprisingly good. I mean, the hood is super long. You literally see the Spirit of Ecstasy logo right there in your line of sight. And if you guys like the hood ornament, which is something the Mercedes is known for, the Rolls has it as well. The mirrors also are pretty large. There's no blind spot information though in rear cross traffic, which surprised me. You do have parking sensors, but I'm surprised it doesn't have blind spot. A vehicle this big could use it. The view out of the back is also not bad. It just constantly reminds you this is a long vehicle, and you kind of, but once you get used to the size of this car, it kind of just glides down the road with an effortless cruise. And honestly, every time you put your foot down, it just takes off with authority. It defies the laws of physics in the way this thing accelerates. I mean, Rolls says 4.5 seconds, but it just feels so like unbothered by it. You kind of just, if you want to pass someone, just put your foot down. The transmission downshifts, it has this nice shove of torque, and you literally are doing triple-digit speeds in no time. And you really need to make sure and you check the speed, because it's a good thing this car has a heads-up display, because you constantly lose track of how fast you're going, and that can be a problem. But I guess if you're super rich like this, you know, you can afford to, you know, deal with those speeding tickets. I don't really want to get any, so I'm going to set the adaptive cruise control here and kind of just cruise and just enjoy my massage from the driver's seat. So as you guys can imagine, I'm pretty much speechless after driving the Rolls for the last couple of hours. This is not a car that I ever expected I would be able to drive, let alone film and shoot a review for you guys. But I have to say, after spending a couple hours, this car seriously lives up to the hype that the Rolls Royce brand is known for. And it really shows in the price of this car. If you guys have to ask, and first of all, I've never had to do this before, but there's so many options on this car because Rolls, as you guys know, has so many ways you can customize it. I have the Maroni here. Let's talk a little about some of the options. First of all, this car starts at $305,000. That's just for the base model, and nobody buys that. They customize this to their liking. Add about $45,000 for the black badge. I probably would do it, honestly, just because, you know, what's another $50,000 if you can afford this car already? It's more than most people's houses. The black color is 10 grand. Now, I'm not really a fan of black cars. I think this is beautiful. But really, to me, $10,000, I mean, when you touch the paint, it's seriously one of the smoothest paint jobs I've ever felt, so I can see why they charge that amount of money. My tester pretty much has about $115,000 worth of options on it. It's got the $10,000 for the color. It's got the $1,300 for the lamb wool carpet. It's got $7 grand for the driver assistance where it'll drive itself. It's got $5,000 for that Starlight headliner that I showed you on the inside, which is just phenomenal, which is a little bit pricey if you're asking me. Ventilated rear seats, massage seats, for another $1,000, another $1,600 there. I mean, $3,000 for the night vision, $9,000 for the upgraded audio system. All in, my tester stickers for $415,000. I'm freaking speechless. That's seriously more than what people pay for their house. But again, if you can afford a car like this, you probably have several houses, you probably have several jets maybe, and you have several cars. So this is something that you literally have a chauffeur drive you around it. And with all that said, after spending time behind the wheel and riding in the back seat, I have to say that this is a car that is for the rich and the famous, for the celebrities, for that 1% of the 1%. And if you can afford a car like this, it's seriously something that you should have at the top of your list. And really, if you're gonna compare it to things, there's the Bentley Mulsanne, the Mercedes Maybach, and the Rolls Royce badge is just something that commands attention, and that's really what's the most important aspect when you're spending this kind of money. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2017 Rolls Royce Ghost Black Badge. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.